Not all craft fairs are created equal. Some are the perfect opportunity to skyrocket your sales, while others might just leave you wondering, why did I waste my time on this? In this video, we're breaking down different types of markets from your cozy farmer's market all the way to your massive holiday show to help you decide where to spend your time, money, and energy. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, all four of these different markets right here, I have personally done myself over the last 10 years. And so whenever I talk about them, this is not necessarily the dictionary definition, but this is the way I've been able to classify them over the years to see if they're worth it for me. And so one of the things I look at is the entry fee, right? How much does it cost to get into this show? The next thing is volume. So how many people are gonna be there to buy my product? The next thing I'm gonna look at is prep work. How much time does it take me to prep for the show? And the last one is profit. What kind of profit potential does this show have? And so the first one we're gonna look at, and the most popular probably with hobbyists, is gonna be this farmer's market. And these are some of the first shows that I went to, and typically these farmer markets are gonna be around a courthouse square on a blocked off street or somebody's, pasture. I've been to those too. This is where you're selling your product and you have somebody selling honey or salsa right next door, right? These are pretty appealing because the entry fee is either free or it's just a couple $100, right? It's gonna be maybe $100. The next thing is you're gonna have your volume of people. Now, these are gonna have around 1,000 people there, nothing crazy. You're gonna have very low prep work because maybe it's just a little 10 by 10 canopy, you're setting up a table, you're underneath some shade, etc. And your profit potential there, obviously you can lose money, but it's around $100 to around $500 in profit. Now, what I mean by profit is your take home after you've factored in your time, your gas, the booth cost, your materials cost, all said and done. You may do $2,000 in sales, but after your time is considered, your materials, all that stuff being considered, how much are you actually taking home and how much is your bank account growing by? So that's what I talk about when I talk about profit. Now, some pros and cons of this farmer's market, why it's appealing to a lot of people is because of this low prep work and this really free entry fee. My cons with these are gonna be this 1,000 people, random. There's an N, not an M. It's gonna be random people, okay? And the thing about 1,000 random people is only 2 or 3 of them are probably gonna be your actual customer. And I see people make this mistake all the time when they go here. They have this $200 or $300 charcuterie board that they're trying to sell, or a river epoxy table, and they wonder why nobody's selling it, right? They're like, oh my gosh, my products are amazing. Why is nobody buying my stuff? And the issue is you have 1,000 random people and you're just hoping one person happens to be your target customer and they actually buy your stuff. When in reality, a lot of times what I see here, people that come to these farmers markets are looking for a deal, and so they try to bargain with you, cut down on your prices, and you end up not selling anything and you go home pretty sad. Personally, I have not had a lot of success here, and if I do, I make $100 to $500. The next thing we're gonna go over is this small market days. This is where you might start seeing people start to charge for you to come in, right? Think of your local community Christmas mall, right? You're in a bigger building, it's gonna be air conditioned, they have inside and outside booths. So your entry fee for this is going to be anywhere from $100 to $1,000. And I have done a ton of these. The volume of people that are gonna be walking through the doors is gonna be anywhere from 1,000 people to around 7,000 people. Your prep work for this show is gonna be a medium, right? It's a little bit more people, a little bit bigger event. And then your profit range for this type of show is gonna be anywhere from $100 to $2,000-ish, right? And what happens when you start doing these shows right here is you start going against people that are professionals in this realm, right? Maybe all they do are these traveling type market day shows. Like in Texas, we have something called the Peddler Show. And what it does, it hops from different towns and it has a tour and people kind of follow it around. And a lot of times they don't make their own products. It's about 50-50 split of people that make their own products and don't make their own products. And so a lot of these guys buy something for $1 and sell it for $4. And meanwhile, you're like a handcrafted person. You're making it for $1 and trying to sell it for $2 maximum, right? And so they have higher margins than you. They're still negotiating. They have all these cool, crazy deals. But On the contrary, I have seen a lot of people do really well here if those 1,000 to 7,000 people that come to it are your market, right? And the closer you get to the holidays, the more eager these people are to spend money. And so you can have success, but you can fail because maybe you have that $1,000 entry fee and you do only $2,000 in sales. That covers your entry fee, your gas, and all that stuff, and you end up coming home with not a lot of money. But these are your smaller type market days. You know, this is the next level after you graduate from farmers markets. You start looking at these, and these are a lot of fun, but they're gonna take over your whole entire weekend, right? Because that prep work is a little bit higher. You have to build up a little bit more inventory. You know, you have to load stuff in the back of your truck or your cargo trailer and head to the show. The next one I'm gonna talk about is the large market days, okay? Now, these are your massive Christmas malls, right? This has a ton of people. This is gonna be anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000. And this is for like a normal size booth, right? A 10 by 10, a 10 by 20, something like that, right? Nothing too crazy. The next thing is your volume of people. You're gonna have 10,000 plus. I do one with my cooler company in my wood shop, and you know, we have two separate booths at this one show in Houston called the Nutcracker Market, and there's over 100,000 people that come to this show. And so the volume of people can range dramatically, but this is where they start paying a premium ticket price. They have early bird specials. They're drinking alcohol there, right? They're dressed up. They're looking nice. It's in a giant venue, maybe a giant arena. This is where these shows are at. So your prep work for these shows is going to be extremely high. I even put a little up arrow right there because it's going to be extremely high. But your chance for profit is anywhere from $100, because once again, you can always lose money, to 10,000 plus, right? Gosh, I don't know why I always put K. Okay, 10,000 plus dollars, right? So it is a huge profit. Oh, I don't like that K there, guys. I am so sorry. Okay, so it is a huge profit potential for these types of shows. So the pros for these shows are, once again, you can make a lot of money, like 10,000 plus dollars. My wood shop last year, I think we did about $9,000 in profit. I made a video on it. And any of this stuff that I go through, I go over more in depth on CIC Academy, which we are launching September the 4th. And so I'm super excited. So I go over all of this stuff super in depth, how to prepare for them, how to get ready, the pros and cons of each one of these in depth on CIC Academy, launching September the 4th. Link is in the description. Super excited to launch that. Your volume is going to be extremely high, so you have great exposure to a huge audience, right? They're pretty much eager to buy because they're paying $50 a ticket, $30 a ticket to get into this thing. Now, the cons with this type of show like this is where you start meeting people that are uber professionals, right? This is where large companies come in and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars on their booths. And it's actually really hard to get into these type of market days. I mean, a lot of times you have to apply a year in advance because they are so big and they have so much of an upside potential that a lot of people apply to them. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is trade shows. Now, what I love about it is the volume of different trade shows are going to be anywhere from, let's say, 1,000 to 10,000, but it's going to be highly specialized people. Your entry fees for these are going to be anywhere from $500 to $5,000. I do a couple of these a year with Frio. Your prep work is going to be pretty high, and your profit potential is going to be anywhere from $100 to $5,000, okay? And what trade shows are, think of like gun shows or knife shows or fishing shows or home and RV shows or home and garden shows. Some kind of specific niche that a show is targeting. So like with my cooler company Frio, we go to a whole bunch of fishing shows and boat shows because fishermen buy our product. And so instead of having, you know, like I said, 10,000 random people walking around, I have 1,000 people that love to fish that need my product. And so if you're a woodworker, maybe you go to a fishing show and you sell fishing pole holders to that audience, right? So now you're selling a specialized product to a specialized audience. Whereas if you went to a farmer's market and sold fishing pole holders, right, maybe only 5 of these 1,000 random people love fishing, right? There's different kinds of trade shows, but this is where I've found a lot of profit to kind of be in because you make a little bit better relationships, right? There may be a store there looking for a cool fishing product and they pick you up and you get into the retail store, or there's another business there and you make some kind of a business connection. But I like trade shows, I like these large market days, but it is a lot to handle. But once again, these are pretty decent to get into. These are really hard to get into. You're gonna need to apply a year in advance. These are probably about a month in advance. And these right here, you usually just sign up the day before and you can go and sell. So I hope all of this right here helps you make a decision on if craft fairs, craft shows, and market days are worth it for you and your company. And remember guys, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right.